Hi guys, and welcome to the Pink and Blue live show. Today we are joined by Wendy Goodman, one of the top lactation consultants in the city of Toronto, to talk to us all about breastfeeding. We are so excited to have Wendy here, and this is great for all you new mamas. We didn't forget about you. So Wendy, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
I'm a nurse and I'm also a lactation consultant. I have my own private nursing practice where I visit new moms at home and help them breastfeed. The difference of me and a breastfeeding clinic is we are the same, but with the breastfeeding clinic, the woman has to go to the hospital, make a time,
Schlep there,
find a parking spot, find the place.
which is already a nervous mess, and then sleep all night.
So this way, she calls me, I can figure out when the baby's next feeds are, and I come at one of the feeds and just help her in her own home.
And watch what she's doing to make sure she's doing it properly.
Of course.
So when should a new mom start breastfeeding? I know that obviously they're in the hospital and normally you get to leave right away.
Unfortunately,
yeah. But not in my situation. I was there for 4 days after. But so when did you start breastfeeding?
Well, ideally, we would like the woman to breastfeed, if all is well with both mom and baby, within the first 2 hours. That feed is a very instinctive feed, so once they put the baby on the breast, it's done by instinct, and then it imprints on the baby's brain, so the next time the baby goes to the breast, I know how to do this. When they miss that feed, and sometimes they can't help but miss it, mother or baby are not well enough, then they have to learn how to breastfeed.
Right.
It's not instinctive anymore. And learning to breastfeed is like any skill. It takes time to learn.
Right.
So it's always better. Hospitals have changed their policies to include so that we can help new moms breastfeed in the first 2 hours. But that doesn't mean if the mom can't do it that she should feel, oh my goodness, now I'm ruined already.
Right.
Because breastfeeding is the skill, and like any skill, some are better at it than others. Some take a little longer to get going. But if you keep at it and you get the right help, you can do it. It's not getting the right help fast enough, or it's maybe I don't want to say giving up too soon, but not knowing when they should get help.
Why do you think, I thought I didn't have enough milk. And like I was telling you, I took the fenugreek and I did everything, and I even had, I don't even remember now what it was, but they gave me, was it diclectin? Or that's from Nausea? No, it was one of the...
John Peridone. It sounds like you're having champagne.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I had that. I mean, I did everything. And I was only able to breastfeed up to 3 months, but some of them, I'm so lucky I am pumping and I'm getting bottles of it and I want to give it away.
Well, it's true. Some women do make copious amounts. Some women don't, but the number one reason women don't have good milk supply, if they're not breastfeeding properly, then they're not going to make enough milk.
Okay.
Breastfeeding, the whole thing is supply and demand. If they breastfeed properly, the body keeps making as much milk as they keep breastfeeding. If they're not breastfeeding properly, they're really saying to the body, shut down this production.
Right.
So they have to be doing it right. And or you get moms where the babies are premature.
Right.
If they're pumping all the time with the proper pump, they're still saying to the body, make lots of milk. But if moms aren't either pumping or breastfeeding the baby properly on the breast, the body doesn't get the right signal and it shuts down production.
But what about diet? Does diet play into it at all?
No, think about how in many countries, India, Africa, starve people where they don't have our luxury of food and healthy diets. The only thing keeping that baby alive really is breastfeeding,
Right.
They don't have other food.
Right.
The formula
But that wouldn't affect your
contained.
production or how much milk you would supply by having a good diet.
No, it doesn't. I mean, we all feel better if we eat better.
Right.
But I don't have to eat well to have.
And what about enough sleep?
Sleep.
Or the woman's health condition. Does that affect it?
Totally, because if I don't have enough sleep, I start cracking up, and I just don't have the mental willpower to keep doing this.
Right.
I always tell the clients I see, prisoners of war are tortured by sleep deprivation, and new moms have sleep deprivation.
Right.
And we know many women now are getting C-sections. The nurses are coming in all the time, day and night. Visitors are coming. They get maybe 2 hours. If they get 2 hours, and by the third day they've cracked up, they've lost it.
Right.
So how can you breastfeed when you're not sleeping well?
Well, one of the
Sleep's
things
crucial.
I'll tell you guys that I did when after I had the baby, and I know we're going to get into this, but I had a night nurse for 2 weeks, which I spaced out, which I highly recommend doing.
Any help is great.
So I did every other day and then every 3 days at the end, just to kind of, so I was used to doing everything and learning how to give a bath and learning how to do everything. Because like you said, you're a nervous mess.
Right.
When you just had a baby, so that support, and my family lives in Florida, so that was a big thing for me. But what I did is I did 1 bottle of formula at night, and so my husband, if at like 12 o'clock at night I would go to sleep, he would give, or 10 o'clock after that feed, he would breastfeed. He would give a bottle. Yeah, he would give a bottle at 12.
Right.
So then I at least got sleep until the next feed, which was what, at like 3 in the morning.
Yes.
So I at least got a good stretch of sleep, and then I would wake up, do the 3 o'clock feed, and then go back to sleep till 6.
And I like what you're thinking, because some moms are like all or none.
Right.
I have to exclusively breastfeed, and I'm going to be the one to do it. I'm going to be a perfect mom, and no one's perfect at anything.
Right.
And the problem of trying to be perfect, then you feel like a failure, and then you want to give up.
There's so much pressure from
Tremendous
society.
pressure.
Right.
Tremendous pressure, which is part of it is because we were a bottle feeding culture for a long time, and anytime you're trying to switch over and realize, well, maybe bottle feeding is not the best thing, when you have a cause, people have to become fanatic to get the cause.
And it used to be that looked down upon that you were poor if you couldn't afford formula back in the 80s, right? And now it's totally switched back to breastfeeding. So
and it's
funny.
like feminism.
Right.
Feminism at first, you had to have all these people that seemed out there. So when you have a cause, you do have to be very strong at the start. And then slowly things change, and we can settle down and not guilt everyone. And that's what happened with breastfeeding. For the longest time, we were a formula feeding culture. Bit by bit, with research and studies, you realize, geez, it does make sense that nature did provide the perfect ingredient for new human babies. But in changing over, there were some fanatics, and the problem with that is they helped change the culture from formula to breast. But there was a lot of guilt along the way on new moms. And that became very difficult, and still is very difficult. And they don't realize, like you, being sensible, I left a bottle with my husband of formula.
Or you pump into it and you leave it.
But that kept you breastfeeding longer.
Right.
If I say you do all breastfeeding or nothing, I will eventually go to nothing.
Exactly.
Because I'm not perfect.
But a lot of moms also think, oh, well, and I did also, if I give a bottle too soon, then the baby's going to be used to having a bottle, and they're not going to want my nipple because they like that nipple and it's more comfortable. And then there's certain bottle you're standing. I remember standing in, I'm not jealous of any of you new moms except for that cute baby you get to hold, but standing in the aisle in the grocery store with all the selection of bottles. I actually want to go to like Toys R Us and go shopping and teach people what they have to buy, because there's so many choices out there. Just like when you go to the grocery store now, there's a million different kind of cheeses. Like,
You don't know what to do.
You don't know what to buy.
Right.
And thank God I have 2 older sisters that told me, and you guys have pink and blue, because I'm just
But and yet in reality, we make you think it's so serious, and it's not that serious.
Right.
See,
is there a bottle that you do prefer that if people use
the ones that the new moms tell me about, they like, here's a free plug for Dr. Brown's, whoever makes it. They like Dr. Brown's, that's less air.
That's what I did, and less colic for colic
and the
babies.
nipple is a good old-fashioned nipple. We don't like these big orthodontic-looking ones. Just the old-fashioned looking nipple works very well. So those bottles they're easier and less gas.
And also when you're pumping, you need to make sure that you're using the right cones that fit your nipples.
Yes.
That's
And the best pump who has the market share on is Medela.
Right.
Another plug.
Does it still make that sound like the cow still, or
well,
is it got a little fire?
No, it's and the reason Medela, it's unfortunate. It's a great pump. It's very, very expensive, because there really is no one who can touch their pumps. They are the best made in the world. They really are. And if moms don't use the right pump, and they get a much cheaper pump, and it's a hand, they won't give the same stimulation, so they won't make the same.
And you could rent a pump from the hospitals and buy your own cones and tubes and all that stuff to connect to it. So that's a cheaper way that's
You
For
can
moms
have,
also.
and it depends how long they're using the pump. If they're gonna use the pump just for a month, then sure, they should rent.
Right.
If they're going back to work and they're gonna pump while they're at work, then they probably would wanna invest in this.
Right. And that's something, moms, that is worth every dollar. I can tell you
Yes.
that right now.
Yes.
So what is the top problem that you see in your practice that moms, when they come to you?
When they call me, the number one problem is, well, they don't know what the problem is. They're usually saying to me, I have cracks right away. That's a problem. You're not
That
supposed to
happens to
have
me.
cracks. Or the other thing where they're phoning and crying. Well, they're crying with cracks and they're phoning me, the baby hasn't gained any weight.
Right.
So if the baby's not gaining weight, he's not getting enough milk. So that's the number, those are the two main problems they're calling me for right away. It's not gaining weight, the doctor wanted me to see you, or I have cracks and I can't do this anymore. And both of them are very legit reasons.
Right.
And in both cases, they are doing it wrong.
So will you show us
Yes.
the pretend baby?
And people would say, isn't it natural? But we're not a natural country on breastfeeding. Yes, we're better than the Americans. They love their formula. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But we're not like in Africa and India where we saw our moms and our aunts and our cousins breastfeeding. We don't breastfeed in public. It's still frowned upon.
I hated breastfeeding in public.
And if you try it in Yorkdale, someone might come up and give you a
That's the worst. People get that.
That's
We have posts
disgusting.
on Pink and Blue about that all the
Yeah,
time.
so of course, if I've never seen breastfeeding done, and I didn't grow up seeing it everywhere, and then every nurse who I see in the hospital says something slightly different, I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing, and it has to be done properly. So what most moms will do, when I even ask them, I say, show me how you, even in a prenatal class, how you would position the baby at the breast. They're very cute in prenatal. They sort of go like this. They go, well, something like this. I said, well, he's crying, do something. And then their cutest response is they turn to their partner, their husband, and they go, does this look right to you? And it's like he would know.
Right.
Like he would know. And if he does know, something's weird there. So it's not
In my prenatal class, Michael held the baby properly when they taught us, and I didn't.
What sites are you looking up, dear? So this is how we instinctively tend to hold the baby, because we're so used to seeing this in ads our whole life, bottle feeding. And this is how you bottle feed. So the mom just does what she's seen her whole life. So when the baby is this way, what the baby's going to do, the baby's on their back, and they're going to turn to get to the breast.
Right.
And that's like you eating like this. So when they turn, they're going to get half nipple, half areola.
Okay.
Because they're twisted. They're not facing.
You want to turn them and have
So
them.
here's the first thing. She's just got to take this baby and flip the baby totally on their side so that they're coming straight on. There's no twisting of the neck. I'm not like that.
Right.
And I make breastfeeding very easy because they're brain dead. They haven't slept in weeks. So if you're using your left breast, left hand holds left breast.
Okay.
I'm using my right breast, my right hand holds my right breast. So before I pick up the breast, I've got to pick up the baby, which is heavy. I need 2 hands. I flip the baby right on her side, or his side. I bring this arm up, and I'm holding the baby right at the top
Can
of
you zoom into this?
right at the top of their shoulder
Okay.
blades, right at the base of their neck. And then if this baby is not a real size baby, is longer, their little bum is, their crook right, they're right in the corner of my arm here, like this would be their bum. So they're right on their side, and the bum is here. Then I pick up the breast. Now they're at least coming face on, they're not twisted. And then the second biggest mistake moms make, the first is they hold this way, that's the first one. Then, so that's corrected. The second thing they do is they go like this. They just go,
Right.
they open their mouth wide and mom bullseyes the baby. And not one book actually says bullseye your baby on the breast. And when they bullseye, they're going to grab most of the nipple. And the problem with the nipple is there's very little milk in the nipple, so they won't get much milk. And it's the most sensitive part of the breast, and it will kill the mother. That's where you get cracks. When moms say I'm doing it right, but I have a crack, it's like you only got a crack if that baby was on your nipple. You weren't doing it right.
Right.
What they need to do, and I'm sorry I forgot my breast, not these breasts, the other, the thing I used, so I'm going to use a picture. So picture, here's your breast, And this is 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you go around, here's 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If I am now using the left breast, I want the mother who's now holding the baby firmly like this. She brings the baby slowly up to the breast. And as she brings the baby slowly to the breast, the baby will open their mouth wide. They'll jump like a dog jumping for a bone. They'll go. And as they open their mouth, I need the mother to put the baby's bottom lip right near the edge of her areola. Here's the nipple. Okay. Here's the areola. I need the mother to put that big bottom lip that's open wide here, right at the edge. So she goes one, she puts the baby on the bottom lip first, and then she's got to shove down. Right. Most moms do this, and so then they're just on the nipple. I need the bottom lip far away from the nipple at like 9 o'clock here, right at the edge, and then she pushes down. And then when that baby starts sucking, they're getting all this part. Right.
And you feel a difference for sure. Like I was doing it wrong, and don't ask. I had everything. My nipples were turning blue. They were cracked. I needed the medicine. It killed. And then a lot of my friends said, no, that's normal. Your nipples just have to harden when you start breastfeeding, and then you'll be used to it and it won't hurt.
And I compare it to new shoes. New shoes, we do have to break in. If they're good, they're a little uncomfortable, and I wear them a few hours each day, more and more, and by 2 weeks, a month, they're good. Right. But it did take some breaking in. Bag shoes, you get blisters right away. You can't wear more than 20 minutes. So there's a difference between when you're doing breastfeeding right, it does hurt. I don't know why nature gives women so much pain. We have menstruation, we give birth, we get pregnant, we have to breastfeed. It's all us who do all this, but anyway, can't change that. So there is some pain at the start, but the difference is when they're getting on at first, like the new shoes, it hurts, but I can handle it. Mm-hmm. If they're right on my nipple, it kills. It's like someone took a knife, went right through the nipple. Right. And that is nature saying to you, get your baby off. You're doing it totally wrong. Right. They won't get milk, so take them off. Because the whole point of breastfeeding is to keep these babies, to keep the human race alive. Right. So they can eat. Right. So
it's so crazy how
it was whoever thought this process out was a genius woman somewhere.
So I know that you touched upon it a bit of seeing a nurse versus a lactation consultant, but what is the big difference?
So the big difference is to become a certified lactation consultant, just like to become a nurse or a physician, you take many, many, many courses, lots of exams. So when you're a nurse, you're not actually just specializing on breastfeeding. You might have had a few classes on breastfeeding. To become a lactation consultant, you've had to go to so many hours, and you have to study, and you have to pass certified exams. So you know more. You're the expert in that field. And where it's frustrating for us is there's a pecking order in the medical field. You can have your pediatrician, a GP, then lactation consultant, nurses. And so if the pediatrician says, this is what you need to do, and I know, no, that's not quite right, they're not always going to listen to me because the pediatrician knows more than you. Right. And it's like, but I'm the lactation consultant. You didn't actually watch the mother breastfeed, and nor should you. You don't have 45 minutes to sit and do a mother breastfeeding where you've got 20 patients in the room who are sick with all kinds of things. So the problem is lactation consultants are the experts. So I feel that the women, if they go home and they're starting to get cracks, or they just don't feel confident, they should go back to the breastfeeding clinic, park their car, or hire someone, but go see an LC. Right. Because as I said at the start, the nurses are all saying something different, which I don't know why. Right. I don't know why.
Well, I guess they're all trained differently. I mean, also, I think when I went, they taught me, it was funny that you're saying from here to here. When they taught me, it was from the bottom of my breast to the top,
which is football. Right. But then you still have to put the baby at the bottom, yes, and not under the nipple. As soon as the baby on the breast, whether I look down this way,
but I think there was more room for error at the football.
Pardon me, sir?
I think there was more room for error the way that I did it.
The problem with football is, believe it or not, it is the natural position in the world to do this, because over time, I get to see you while I'm eating and talking, and so many moms will switch to this position as they become more pros, because they get to talk to
So
you.
that's how they
see
taught
you.
me to start, which is interesting.
The only problem with that is, where are you down there? Whereas here, I can see my nipples here, so I put you here.
Right.
Here, I can't see, so I'm going by
But
feel.
it really makes such a big, because I went through such emotional distress and going to the classes, and people in the class that we were taking was like a new moms group, and they were teaching everything about how to feed your baby and what age and when to start solids, and went through every series of how to change a diaper properly.
And you can't even
what to do
retain
for a
half
diaper
this.
rash. Yeah, you can't retain half of it, but you're meeting other moms, and it's social, and it's good to get out of the house, And so now you have. It wasn't like when moms were young, you had like the village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of moms, to prevent postpartum depression and everything, I can't stress enough how important it is to be, obviously, to be social with other moms.
Oh, these groups
So,
are wonderful.
And I think
Yes,
that's part of the
groups
reason
are
why people
wonderful.
gravitate towards pink and blue. You could all give a thumbs up in your likes and emojis.
It's no,
right now.
it's a
But
support
it's
group.
true, but it is. It's a support. You need that
You
support.
definitely need the
But
support.
the problem with that is there's also peer pressure.
Yes.
So there were all the
Tremendous.
moms judging me or judging other moms that they couldn't breastfeed, and you're not. I've been breastfeeding for this long, and how you're not just doing it enough, and you're not pumping enough,
Mm-hmm.
and people would be sneaking in formula and pretending it was breast milk. I mean, it was, and finally I said something to the teacher because it was ridiculous.
Right.
Um,
And it's sad when women won't support women. That's
but
the,
you're
that's
getting
the
that all
most
the
basic
time. You're
level.
getting that all the time, and you're even getting that on Pink and Blue, which is really sad. Besides all the other moms group, now there's hundreds. When I started in Canada, there was like none.
Right.
But so I guess that's one of the the biggest things is that people think that pumping will increase your milk. Well, you're not breastfeeding enough, or you're not pumping enough, or you gave a bottle at night. So is that a myth? Is that true?
First of all, I always say, if the woman like you gave a bottle at night when Michael would give a bottle,
Right.
that gave you a break, you slept more, you sleep more, you're more likely to breastfeed longer.
Right.
If you never get a break, you're probably going to stop.
Right.
And to me, saying it's wonderful for the women who breastfeed exclusively, do it all the time and they love it. And I think that's great for them. But not everyone's like that. To me, it'd be like my husband saying, I told you earlier, you have to cook me home cooked meals 7 nights a week. That's what I want. And I'd be saying, so where's the nearest divorce lawyer? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I would like to be more reasonable, right? We're going to bring in some food. We're going to go out. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And for the women who want to cook 7 nights a week, good. Maybe
Right.
that's your passion. So the problem is we need to be more flexible with new moms. It doesn't have to be all or none. Aren't you more sensible leaving a bottle of pumped milk, leaving a bottle of formula, which buys you more freedom, and then you breastfeed longer than me saying, oh, you gave your baby formula?
Right.
Yeah, yes I did.
I love Wendy.
I
That's
guess
why
I
we love
did.
her. Because it's okay, moms. Don't feel bad. You're not. You don't have to be perfect.
And obviously, I sometimes look at formula as medication.
Right.
Sometimes I need medication. I shouldn't be using medication all the time. Formula, look at it, it's a 20th century invention. It's good it's here because
Right.
when women can't breastfeed, and if there's somewhere where they can't get pumped milk, before we even had that, fine. It was just that we shouldn't have switched totally to a bottle feeding culture.
Right.
But it still plays a great place that
It still has nutrients and everything.
Of course
I mean,
it does.
I came from 4 children. My
We
husband
all
came from 4
breastfed.
children. Our moms did not breastfeed. We were all formula fed. And while
we're-
I know that breastfeeding burns more calories, and there's
like
a lot of
me,
benefits,
like
and
me
it's better
eating
for the
healthier
baby.
food, and
Right.
we should breastfeed when we can. But I'm not going to feel guilty when I brought in food tonight for dinner.
Right.
I'm not feeling guilty.
Right.
I think my feeling when they're pregnant, they should keep their expectations the opposite of what people think. They want to have really high expectations. I'm going to breastfeed for 2 years, and I'm going to do it all the time. I'm going to be so granola, and I'm going to make my own food, and I'm just going to make my own clothes. They get like crazy,
and
right?
cloth diapers and not
Everything,
regular
right.
diapers, and
So
I wash
think-
her bum in the sink. Which
Right.
is actually, we have an article coming out on that. That's not better for your baby. Which are actually better.
I'm so bumming the sink.
Yeah.
That'll be the new thing. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I think if the woman's expectations are, I'm just going to do the best I can. That's my only goal. I'm going to
That's what you should do in life. Period.
I'm just
With
going to do the
everything.
best I can, and I'm not going to feel bad if I'm not perfect. And those are the moms who don't get so upset because they said, so I gave formula. Yeah,
Right.
but I'm still breastfeeding at 3 months. And I'm enjoying breastfeeding because I'm not feeling pressured if I give it. It's sad when
There's
women
just
judge
there's
each
so
other.
much judgment out there
It's
about
so sad.
everything. It's the craziest thing. So I know.
So keep the bar low. They
Right.
should be very proud of what they're doing. And some is better than none, and it's fine if they want to pump and go out. And they can judge.
What about
everybody.
drinking alcohol? Like if somebody wants a glass of wine.
And again, if I want, the Canadian Pediatric Society does say breastfeed for a year, optimally 2.
Okay.
I know it seems a lot. You always set higher expectations, and then if it's lower, maybe.
As long as
it's
I have the cover of
But
time where
if
you have a
I have
5-year-old.
to breastfeed for a year, and I know I can't drink at all, and I have a big year of weddings and celebrations, I'm going to start resenting breastfeeding, and I would be much wiser to say, I might do one of 2 things. If I'm going to drink those nights, I'm going to leave
Pump and dump.
pump and dump, or I'll leave formula.
If you have like 1 glass of wine, do you need a pump and dump? Or
No,
normally
no,
after,
1
like,
glass of wine is
how
fine.
many glasses of wine would you need a pump and dump? Like
I
3?
probably would say past 2.
Okay.
And even that, and it's not written in stone, but I always laugh. Think of our culture versus European culture in Italy and France. They drink wine like it is their water.
Right.
Do you think all these women, and they have better breastfeeding rates, do you really think they gave up
Well, they're
all
also
their
probably
wine?
more relaxed.
Well, they drink. Yeah,
That was another
because
funny
they
thing.
drink.
After
They
all the
drink.
baby groups and all the things, people are hiding their alcohol. Every new mother was drinking every night. Every new mom, because you're
I-
just so stressed.
Yes, and so if one, and I can use common sense, if I just breastfed, that's when I should drink instead of right before I'm breastfeeding.
Right.
Just breastfed, I've got
And
2,
if you
3
ate
hours.
dinner and you had a glass of wine, then it lessens the amount of percentage of alcohol being passed to the
True.
baby as well.
And if I know I'm going to a wedding and I am going to drink a lot and enjoy myself, so I'll keep breastfeeding longer, then
So
you do
pump,
what you
or
said,
you
pump
give,
or dump.
or you give
Or
formula.
You leave formula.
So what, like if somebody had to use formula, or they partially use formula and they were breastfeeding, what kind of formula do you like?
Oh, they all have to meet standards, and really it doesn't really matter if you're using SMA or MFLAC or Similac. They're different companies. It's like different kinds of milk. There's seal test and there's this one, that they all have to meet the standards. I do say technically, just because one's on sale this week, don't keep switching, because in case your baby's sensitive to different kinds, if you
They say
always
stick
use
to
this,
one.
stick to one, unless they're not reacting well, then
Right.
try something
It's
else.
funny, Canada has a different formulas that people like to use versus the States, that they gravitate towards, or that the pediatricians say to use, which is funny.
Well, in the States is still very big into their formula.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's changing. Most of my
So, yeah.
friends say
Canada's further
breastfeeding.
ahead. We
Well,
are
I'm
much
sure.
further
I'm
ahead
sure.
on
Well,
that.
it's a healthier country.
And
Being from Florida,
yes,
I know it as
it's
an
true.
American.
It's true.
It is.
Yeah, look at our gun control. It's a bit better.
Well, that's for sure. I have to just say, I was scared to use Uber in Florida, in South Florida recently. We did Uber. My sisters never did it. My brother just got married. It was actually scary, so that just says something right there.
Yeah,
But that is
that's
South
true.
Florida. That's not also the safest place. So I know that there's mastitis is a problem.
Mastitis I compare it to a bladder infection.
Okay.
Mastitis is a breast infection. It must be treated by antibiotics. Must be, or you get just leaving a bladder
So for
infection.
that, you go straight to your doctor,
Yes.
or lactation consultant
Yeah.
can help you along
And the
with that too.
symptoms of a mastitis are one breast feels very sore.
Okay.
She looks at it at the start, it looks fine, it feels fine, but in my head it's sore. It's always in one breast usually. It's very rare it's in both. It's in one, and she feels like she's getting the flu. And she starts to cry because she can't believe, oh my God, I'm 2 months and I'm getting the flu on top of everything.
Right.
She's very achy all over, very sore, and as the day goes on, she'll get a fever, and the most telling thing is there'll be red markings on the breast. It hurts, and by the end of the day, she'll notice blotches or red streaking. And she's got to get antibiotics.
Right.
Not many women get mastitis, but the precursor to it is having cracks. You've got an open wound, of course
And
it's
it's getting
easier.
sore.
Yeah.
And what do you do for, like, what was the whole cabbage thing?
Cabbage thing is when the breast, when the baby is first born, the mature milk. In the first few days, you have milk. So many women, when we say your milk hasn't come in, they think there's nothing there. There is. It's just earlier milk. It's the early milk.
And that is gold.
Yeah, it looks like gold, and it is gold.
Yeah.
And I compare it to a patient who's just had major surgery. You can't eat a full meal right after surgery. You bring up. So what nature does, the baby's just been born, lots of adjustments going on. They bring in very small volumes of milk because the baby is spitting up and getting rid of a lot of mucus that was in their lungs during pregnancy. They swallow a lot of amniotic fluid and whatnot. So they're spitting up a lot, so they give small volumes of food just to get them over the first 48 hours. Then the mature milk and the big volume comes in around day 3. So a lot of moms think in the first few days they don't even have enough milk, and it's like, no, it's perfect. It's what nature meant for you to have. As long as you're latching the baby, as we go back to that all-important latch, then the baby will get enough milk. So what was the question?
So when would you use cabbage?
So let's say they're not pumping, the milk has come in, they're still feeding the baby like this, so the baby's not emptying the breast, so the milk keeps coming in more and more and more. Baby's not getting it because they're doing it wrong. They're just massive. They're engorged, they're massive. Like Dolly Parton. Inappropriate. So then it's true, this old-fashioned cabbage leaf, they need to do a few things. They need to start pumping and getting this milk out, or getting, most importantly, the baby on right.
Okay.
But often they can't get on right because they're so engorged. So they need to do a few things. So they would be pumping with the good pump. But in between this old-fashioned thing, you take cabbage leaves, put them in the fridge. They must be cold, and you put them all under the bra. And it literally sucks out the fluid, because the woman's very, besides having a lot of breast milk, she's very edematous. Your fingers get real swollen after you give birth. Your ankles are swollen. They gave you tons of IV fluid if you had an epidural, which most women have. So there's fluid everywhere. Here, my feet are swollen, so are my breasts. So what the cabbage leaves does, it doesn't suck out the breast milk. It sucks out that fluid, that the whole body's very edematous with this. It sucks out that fluid, which is competing with the spaces for the for milk. So at least I'm not as engorged, and now the milk will start to flow if I get rid of that. Right. So it actually does remove. You put on these, and they must be cold. You put them on, and within an hour they're all wilted. You put on new ones, and suddenly these are starting. They're feeling much better. And I've actually even used it on patients who are very swollen, with swollen ankles and swollen legs and like crazy swollen, and we put it on it and it sucks out the fluids. Like crazy.
I should try it on my stomach. Crazy. So, one of the last things I want to ask you about, colic. Do you deal with anything with colicky babies or help with any of that?
Colic. Colic, babies, colic seems to set in at around 6 weeks. I think nature is smart enough to
witching hour.
Yeah, they try to make you fall in love with the baby, and then if you're unlucky, and we still to this day don't know why babies get colic and others don't.
I think that diet has to play with, like if you have a lot of garlic or you have to make the baby gassy.
We still don't know, because why will a mother have 4 children? One is really, really colic, awful, screaming nonstop to the point you think you're torturing them, and she isn't doing anything different. It could be her 3rd kid, so she's even more relaxed.
Right.
And we don't know why they get it.
Well, both of my kids were projectile vomiters. So I would get ready, I would leave the house, I'm finally put together and just covered. Or somebody else would hold my baby, and it was very embarrassing.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, did anyone write any questions?
Yes. Someone wrote in asking if it's natural to breastfeed, then why are people not doing
doing it appropriate.
Why are they not doing it then if it's natural? It's very demanding, breastfeeding. I always laugh. It's like saying it seems to be men, I seem to be a bit the feminist here. It's like saying, I had an easy pregnancy. Even a woman who has the easiest pregnancy, it still wasn't easy. It's much easier for her partner who gets the same child. So I don't think any pregnancy is easy. They can be if you have many complications, obviously the woman who isn't sick, it is easier, but it's still very demanding, right?
Right.
And it's the same with breastfeeding. It's very demanding. That woman is doing the 7-8 feeds a day, getting up morning, noon, and night, worrying if the baby doesn't eat them. It's still very demanding. So there is no question that even though it's like me making my 7 meals a week for my partner. I might be making much better food and it's very nutritious and wonderful. It's still demanding. So breastfeeding is demanding. I think because we're women, we underestimate all the work women go through when they become pregnant and they breastfeed. It is demanding. And yay, I'm glad they invented push presents because they deserve it.
Still have not got one, Michael Bloomberg.
So
Not too late, Michael Bloomberg.
Exactly.
we did kind of talk about it before, but why doesn't the baby know where to go if it's a natural process?
They don't. It's more the mother doesn't know what to do. When you're in these countries and no one was around, when babies come out, the first thing they will do is they will put the baby right away on the mother's, right here, right on the abdomen. That's what you do when you're delivering and you're not in a hospital environment. And what instinctively will happen is this baby, if we leave that baby covered, will crawl their way up and instinctively find their way to the breast. And as they're climbing up, they're doing so many things. They're climbing up. They're actually massaging the woman's uterus, which must be massaged so the woman doesn't hemorrhage after giving
really?
birth. So instinctively, whoever designed this process knew, okay, massage the uterus. That way she gets the blood out. The uterus contracts. It stays contracted. She won't hemorrhage. And then remember I said right at the start of this feed, the first feed is instinctive. So when they are put on here and they instinctively go up here and latch properly, and they are on proper, the next time they go, it's like, oh, I know how to do this. Whereas if I put them on wrong to begin with,
Right.
and then and I do it 6 hours later, they've lost the instinct. So,
But they smell the mother's milk too. Like I was.
they just know to go here.
Right.
They do, but we do many things in the hospital that interfere with the natural
And
process.
they made me give. Sienna was born 3 weeks early, and I had to actually give her formula. They made me give formula in the hospital to make her gain weight because she was so little. She was
Right.
like a preemie.
And if
right?
we're not having you pump, that affects your breast milk
And then they
supply.
didn't, right?
So then
And
how were you to know to pump?
Right.
And was Sienna, were you a C-section?
No, it was natural for both of them, but
And the problem now with the C-section rate, when it got as high as 35%, I've had major surgery. How do I do all this with major surgery?
right.
If you had your gallbladder out, we wouldn't say, oh, you've got to go up and down the stairs and get the baby and breast it. We expect so much out of these women because so many women have sections and we think it's just like giving birth. But it
Right.
isn't, it's major surgery. And how do I do this when I've had major surgery? So I can totally see, and if like you didn't have all the supports, your family wasn't here.
Right.
There's nothing sadder than me visiting a woman when she said, I'm from Winnipeg, my family's there, and my husband's relatives are from Montreal, and I don't know a soul here. And they say, what am I going to do? And it's like, if you don't have a group like Pink and Blue, I don't know, dear, you're kind of screwed. I don't know.
You want to know something? The other thing is I didn't get help. Fortunately, I got help, and I had help after, Isla was like a year old, my first daughter, she's 6. And I always say, I wish I had help.
Mm-hmm.
I needed more help when she was a baby, when I didn't know how to give a bath. And now I was so tired, and they're throwing up, and they're pooing through their clothes, and you're running around, and you're trying to make dinner and do laundry. Those are the days that were harder. When they were over a year old, I know that it gets busy and they're running around. That was a lot easier than when I was born.
And you're scared. You want to make sure you're doing the right thing. I like one pediatrician, he's great, Marvin Gantz, who said, I always give his quote out, kids grow up in spite of what we do to them. So to new moms, in spite of what you do to your baby, they will survive the first year. You give them lots of love. They'll be fine. They will be fine. They're very resilient.
But it's also like, you have the first baby and the pacifier drops on the floor. You have to clean the pacifier. And they always say, by your second or third kid, you don't
Third
care.
one, here's this.
Right. And I'll never forget this. I probably shouldn't say this. Sorry, Michael. But a waiter stepped on her pacifier and he gave it back to my daughter, to Sienna. And my friend is like, you know that the waiter just stepped on it. He's like, it's fine. He rubs it off on his shirt. But,
But
that
there's
doesn't build
natural
immune system.
germs.
And
They are natural germs, right?
Right.
Our fingers, our breasts aren't
but
sterile.
it's so funny how,
yeah,
like,
it's very
you put
different.
the bottles in the dishwasher and you need to wash them by hand and you need to put them in the thing. And like,
And
just
you
all
don't
that
actually
crazy.
need to sterilize the bottles. It was the formula industry that made women sterilize the bottles and be so strict with it, because we know with breastfeeding there is natural immunity.
Right.
There isn't that in formula. So because they were afraid that these kids would get more infections, they make them sterilize everything. Then that way we'll reduce the risk, because it doesn't have the antibodies that breast milk does. So you don't need to sterilize.
Right.
My
That's
fingers are. So.
Anything
And
else?
don't oil your nipples, it really hurts.
The last question, what do you do if you don't have enough breast milk?
Well, usually the reason the woman doesn't have enough breast milk, as I said, she's not doing it properly. So if the baby's just on the nipple, they're not stimulating a good milk supply. The areola, this part needs to be stimulated. So if she can't get the baby to do it right, or they're so cracked because she's done damage, then she can take the break and use a pump, which will hurt less than the baby doing it wrong. So she must, so if she's not making enough breast milk, it's often that the technique was wrong. So she either gets her technique fixed, and until it's fixed, she's using that good pump. Most times women do have enough breast milk, they really do. And then if they don't, if the technique is still right, then there's some women, just like some women, we don't know why they don't get pregnant. They've had all the workups and they're not getting pregnant. Then in those cases, we're thankful there's formula here.
Right.
We are thankful there's formula here. Or they'll do what you said. I'll use the herbs or that medication, domperidone, which will help increase milk supply.
And what do you do also, I just thought of a question that I wanted to ask you that was important.
Could you just like me?
I forgot. I totally
She'll
forgot.
phone me at 4 in the morning.
There was. I know that there was. I totally forgot.
It's gonna come back.
It was going to come back to me, but it was something in regard to that women are breastfeeding, and I don't know if it was about leak. There was a question about leaking that I wanted to ask you, because I know that like sometimes I would just be
it's so
in the middle of dinner and you're just like
and you
leaking.
think of the baby. Yeah. So some women, and again, it's just like some women have fabulous pregnancies and others are sick as dogs and puking the whole time, and wretched pregnancies. As long as baby's healthy, that's all that matters. But anyway, some women leak all the time, and others, nope, never had a drop. Didn't have to wear a pad. I could think of the kid out in public, and
I was like, I don't have enough milk. I don't need a pad, and then I'm in the middle of a nice dinner.
And there it is. So we don't know. It's safe to have pads, but after a while, you start to know whether you'll leak or not.
Right.
But it's like how we carry when we're pregnant. We're all different.
Oh, that's the question I wanted to ask.
Yes.
See, it
comes
came back.
back.
Okay, so when I was pumping, I would only get 3 ounces of milk, and I'm sure a lot of moms are in a similar situation. But then friends of mine would say, you don't know. They would say, oh, well, you could gauge, some of the lactation consultants, how much milk you're getting when you pump. So if this is how much milk came out, and that's your milk that came out, oh, you're so lucky. Sometimes the baby is getting more from being on the breast than you actually get from the pump. Is that true?
Yes, because the baby is natural. It evokes all kinds of nice feelings in me. I relax and, oh, you're such a good girl. Look at you eating. I love you so much. And the more relaxed I am, and they start sucking, it just relaxes things.
So it's not a good gauge to go by the pump of what you get.
Well, some women with the pump do great, and others, no matter, even when they're using the best double pump from the hospital, it's not working.
Right.
Babies who are gaining weight from you, they're obviously getting lots of milk, or they wouldn't be gaining weight, even if they're not pumped.
Would you mix if I only got this much breast milk, would you mix it with the formula bottle?
No,
Okay.
because let's say you get that much breast milk, and I put in that much formula, and the baby only takes that much, they're not that hungry, I just diluted my perfect breast milk. Okay. So I always say pour in your breast milk first. When that's gone, then add the formula, so you're not diluting the perfect breast milk.
And also, I know with formula, so according to their weight and how old they are, you give 4 ounces, 8 ounces, 6 ounces. With breast milk, does it matter if you're giving a bottle?
No, of course not. Mums will
Just as
often
much as
say,
they want.
yeah, mums will often say, how much should, and you getting 3 ounces, yes, you could sit beside another woman, she'll get 6 ounces.
Right.
To me, with
That was the most
breastfeeding,
frustrating thing.
and to me, breastfeeding, this, what you get, it's like a urine sample. If this is all I give you, that's all I got. And if the doctor says, well, give me more, it's like, well, you're going to have to wait because I don't have any more now.
Right.
That's all I got. So that's too bad.
Right.
And again, I'm glad formula's there to make up the difference. Also, with breast milk, to me, it's liquid gold. It's
And
gold.
it's water. It's watery. It's a different.
It's like well, I shouldn't say lobster. It's probably not the healthiest food, but it's the best there is. So if, let's say you have this much breast milk in the bottle, and they only take this much, right?
Right.
Then technically the books will say throw that out.
Right.
And it's like, really? I worked so hard.
I never
for that.
do that.
I tell mums never. You put it back in the fridge.
That's what I would do. I'm
You
like,
put
I'm
it
not
back
doing
in
this
the
way.
fridge.
It's just gonna be
And it's got these live antibodies that protect against infection. I put it back in the fridge and I use it at the next feed. I use it the next time
And
I'm
how
going
do
to
you
use it.
store breast milk?
Well, it should be in the
In the freezer, in a
fridge or
bag,
freezer. It's
in a
good.
Ziploc bag, or there's special bags for
You can
breast
buy
milk?
special, or you can buy, there's special bags that are just smaller and easier, or you can buy a bunch of cheap bottles and then just put them in those bottles. Fresh breast milk is
How
actually,
about ice cubes?
ice cubes is fine, perfect,
Put
sure.
an ice cube tray. There
Absolutely,
you go.
that is a very good one, and you take out however many cubes
Right.
you need. Breast milk freshly pumped is good at room temperature 6 to 12 hours.
Okay.
Breast milk, if I'm not going to use it in those 6 to 12, I should pump it and put it in the fridge. It's good up to 8 days.
Wow.
And if I'm not sure, even after 24 hours in the fridge, am I even going to use it in 8 days? I should at that point take
Put it
it
in
and
the
put it in the
freezer.
freezer. And to show you how all this...
And a bottle only stays good in the fridge for what, 3 hours, if I remember correctly? My youngest is 3.
What,
Forgive me.
a form of
Yeah.
breast milk?
Formula.
Oh, formula, because it doesn't have all the live enzymes and antibiotics, they tell you to chuck it.
After
they
what?
don't-
After 3 hours?
They don't want you to even drink from it and re-put it in the fridge. But
Right, yeah. If they drank from it, you have to throw it away.
supposedly, and yet...
I didn't do that either. My husband was like, it's fine.
I agree. It's
Right.
like they're sucking on their pacifiers.
Right.
What is the difference? And plus, I stored it in the fridge. I didn't leave it out at room temperature. I forget the point I was just going to make. Oh, to show you where women get so much mixed information and they don't know what to do, and it can screw them up so much. When I was working at St. Michael's Hospital as their lactation consultant, anyway, one of the brochures put out by City of Toronto, Department of Public Health, was breast milk is good in the fridge 3 to 8 days.
Right.
So I phoned them and I said, all the studies, all the textbooks, the research shows it's good in the fridge 8 days. Why are you saying 3? Well, just to be safe. I said, but then they throw that liquid gold out at 3 because it was in 3 or 4 days.
Right.
And the research says 8. You're giving the wrong information to women, and they work so hard for it.
Right.
So you can see where all this conflicting information really wreaks havoc on these poor women.
Right.
They don't know who to believe. I guess now with the internet, they can research it a bit, and sooner or later.
But a lot of stuff on the internet isn't right either.
Right.
You have to know your sources.
You have to go to so many sources, right?
Where
You're right.
could moms find your website? What's your website?
Oh, that's very sweet. My website is www.4, like numerical 4, baby, B-A-B-Y, and ANDUYOU.com. So it's 4babyandyou.com.
And it's Wendy Goodman. She's a lactation consultant. And one of the benefits of having her is, as a new mom, even if it's your second kid or third kid, I don't care. You're a nervous mess. It doesn't get easier. And you have so much on the go and you're tired and you're not sleeping. Give your husband the bottle. I don't care what bottle it is. Give him the bottle. Let him feed them so you get a stretch of sleep. The best advice I could give. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope you all learned so much. Are there any other questions, last minute questions?
No, I think we're okay.
Thank you so much. And if you have any questions for Wendy, feel free to private message me, and you can private message Wendy on Facebook at Wendy Goodman.
Facebook, or I guess on my
Email.
I guess on my email.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can find that on your website.
Okay, yes.
Or
yes.
you want to give your email, whatever.
No, it's on the
It's
website.
on the website.
Yeah.
And we will be sharing this for any of you that missed it. It will be going on our website, pinkandbluemag.com, and our YouTube channel. So don't worry if you missed it, and you could share it with all of your friends. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend. We're almost at Friday.